What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another night of spooky videos. Now, I think I might just do this time around. I might just do two parts because, just to give you an example, like in my queue of horror and creepy videos to watch, I had like 15, right? And at the one Saturday, that following Sunday, I was just chilling watching YouTube videos, and I was coming across all these horror and creepy type videos, and I was just putting them in the queue, And now I'm at like 28, just about as you saw. So if I don't start doing something, it's one or two things. Either I can make it 3 to 4 hours in one video, or I could just chop it up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying looking at these conspiracy theories, looking at these possible ghost videos, and and some horror shorts. I am still looking for a video, a horror short that can beat the doll maker. I have yet to see one that can beat the doll maker. So yeah, this one we're gonna continue down that celebrity conspiracy theory iceberg. Now in the last one, I think we did. It was some other type of conspiracy theory part 3. I thought it was celebrity, but it was a different one. But this time we're back at Parasite TV. Shout outs to that channel. And we are back on the celebrity iceberg. This is the Celebrity Conspiracy Theories Iceberg Explained Part 3. Now remember, I first saw Part 7. And the deeper you get into the iceberg, the deeper the conspiracies go. Right? And the more creepy they get. So I went back up and watched 1 and 2. So now we are on 3. And guess what? There's actually an 8. There's actually a part 8. So yeah, let's get into it. And I promise you, God's willing, I'm gonna find a way to get some next po videos in here. But like I said, if I do a next po video, and he does like multiple things. He covers like multiple subjects in some of his videos too. But they're like, hours, like an hour 10, hour 15 minutes sometimes. So that would be like in one video.
Am I here? Can you see me? Can you see me? Are we okay? And here we go.
Well, that wasn't creepy at all.
A few years ago, a conspiracy theory about one of the world's
Wait, I'm sorry, what does that say?
A few years ago, a conspiracy theory.
I found this weird self-post theory about Jim Carrey being a serial killer. The other night I was searching Reddit for a game I came across in the Steam store to see if it was at all worth playing. Why would you search Reddit for that? And somehow stumbled onto this Reddit post, now deleted, originally posted yesterday evening. It was a very long post detailing someone's theory that Jim Carrey is actually a hidden in plain sight serial killer responsible for the deaths of several celebrities, including the Benoit family? As in Chris Benoit's family? Chris Cornell, I don't know who that is. Jonathan Brandis. All murders are set up to look like suicides or murder-suicides.
About one of the
The number 23 seems to be a centerpiece on the conspiracy, and there's a lot of links to other media as well as a Twitter post detailing who the next victim will be. Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is the next victim, and this was in 2021, so this was 5 years ago. The post I initially found, as I'm sure you've seen now, was deleted, but I still had the tab open on my browser, so I checked the poster's profile, and it turns out the same person reposted it today. No alterations were made to the original. Here's the repost. What?
world's favorite actors was posited by a Redditor in a now deleted thread, but recently it began to resurface. The theory being that Jim
I guess he's gonna hold on. No, I want to finish reading it myself. After reading through this theory for the second time, I became engrossed. I decided to start searching Google for any other information on this theory, and have come up pretty empty-handed aside from a Reddit comment talking about reading a theory about Jim Carrey murdering the Benoit family. Then I found this post that seemed to be a reply or an update to the one I posted above, only it was posted 2 days prior. Has anyone ever seen this theory before? Wow, so they think Jim Carrey, this conspiracy thinks that Jim Carrey killed the Benoit family?
began to resurface. The theory being that Jim Carrey was allegedly hiding a very dark secret.
In case you guys don't know, because you may not be WWE superstar, you may not watch WWE, but Chris Benoit was a WWE superstar. And he was a pretty good technical wrestler. He was a pretty good technical wrestler. And there's actually videos you can watch on it, but the long and short of it is, he didn't show up for some stuff with WWE, and when people went to go check on him, they found like his wife and kids were killed, and then they found him in like the gym area of his house, and he was killed there. Apparently, they ruled it as a murder-suicide, where he killed his wife and kids and then himself. Well, I don't know exactly who all were killed, but I know he killed members of his family there and then before taking his own life. And they're trying to say that Jim Carrey did all of this and made it look like a murder-suicide. That is wild to me. But the thing to think about though is like, what if it's true? What if this guy who's out here making all these movies, who's a big star, is out here star whacking? Like, what?
Remember one of Jim's first forays into serious dramatic acting? The number 23. Before diving into the Jim Carrey theory, we first must understand the significance of the 23 enigma.
The Titanic sank on the morning of April 15th, 1912. That's 4151912. 23. The Hiroshima bomb was dropped at 8:15. 8 plus 15 is 23. The Mayans said the end of the world would come in 2012. 20 plus 1 plus 2 equals 23.
The 23 enigma seems to trace back to author.
And see, a lot of people will hear that and be like, oh my gosh, all these connections. But if you saw, like, he completely, I just want to, this is, and I want you to think for yourself with this, okay? But this is,
Hiroshima bomb was dropped at 8:50.
this is what, listen to what he said.
Significance of the 23 enigma.
The Titanic sank on the morning of April 15th, 1912. That's 4151912.
415-1912.
23.
So I get 415-1912. So he took all of those single numbers and added them together. 419-1512. Let me grab my phone so I can if you have a pen and a piece of paper, you can write it down and I can show you what I mean. You can write it down. I can show you what I mean. Let me do that one more time.
4151912.
415-19. What did they say?
That's 4151912.
415-1912. And he says this is 23. So I'm assuming he's taking the 9 plus 2. That's, well, the 10. Okay, let's say 10 plus 2 is 12. Then you add the 5 to it, that makes 17. Then you add the 1, that's 18. Then you add the other one, that's 19. And then you add 4. That makes 23. So yeah, he's adding, he took that one date, right? He took that one date and 415-1912, and he added all those single numbers up to get 23. Now let's continue and listen what they say.
23. The Hiroshima bomb was dropped at 8:15. 8 plus 15 is 23.
At 8:15, and then 8 plus 15 is 23, right? Let me see. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. So 8 plus 15 is 23. And you're like, oh my gosh. Let's hear more. Okay.
The Mayans said the end of the world would come in 2012. 20 plus 1 plus 2 equals 23.
2012. 20, plus 1 plus 2 is 23. So here's my thought process on this. You said 415-1912. So you, in 2012, he takes the 2 and the 0 and make that 20. And then he adds the 1 and then adds the 2. But why don't you use that same logic for the 415-1912? You took the year of that number and separated them. So by your original logic, this 2012 should actually be 5. It should be 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 5. But it's not. You want to know why? Because that doesn't. It may sound like all these things equal a number, but they're just looking to make it that way. That 2012 should actually be 5, not 23. Why is it that you take the year of the time the Titanic dropped or sank. You take that year and you take 4 single-digit numbers out of that year to add up to 23. But when it comes to the Mayan calendar, which we obviously now we know was, well, I mean, you should have already known it wasn't true, but now you take it and you say, oh, 2012, 20 plus 1 plus 2. That little number, and there's actually a video on it you can watch that debunks the whole numbers thing. And you can take any amount of numbers and make it equal a certain number. So there's nothing like cryptic about it at all.
The 23 Enigma seems to trace back to author William S. Burroughs. Burroughs was talking with a man known as Captain Clark in Tangier, who was bragging to him that he had been sailing for 23 years without a single accident. That very day, he crashed his ship, an accident in which he and the entire crew died. Later that night, as Burroughs was mulling over the ironic tragedy, the radio show he was listening to was interrupted by a bulletin announcing the crash of an airliner in Florida, of which there were no survivors. The pilot of the plane also named Captain Clark the flight number 23, the idea becoming that once you notice it, you see 23 everywhere. Though it may seem like a strange coincidence at first, it quickly becomes hypnotic and all-encompassing, completely ruling one's perspective of reality. Jim Carrey claims to have been obsessed with the 23 Enigma long before being cast in the movie, as his production company is called JC23 Entertainment, and his father played the saxophone and worked as an accountant, just like one of his characters in the movie. In The Number 23, Carrey plays Walter Sparrow, a family man whose life begins a downward spiral when his wife gives him a copy of The Number 23, a novel that contains a character named Fingerling, also played by Carrey, who is consumed by the 23 Enigma. When Walter receives the Number 23 book from his wife, he immediately envisions himself as the protagonist, a detective named Fingerling, and his real-world wife Agatha as Fingerling's girlfriend Fabrizia. Fingerling is sent to the scene of a frantic woman known only as the Blonde, who rants about the number 23 and that it ruined her life. He then witnesses her jump to her death. Later in the movie, as Walter is desperate to find out more about the number 23, which is now seemingly ruining his life, a man attacks him with a box knife before abruptly turning it on himself, cutting his own throat. These are 2 of the 4 suicides featured in the movie, all of which Walter, or what turns out to be his past self, Fingerling, is present for. And this is where No One and Nobody Seven's theory starts to take shape. The Twitter user theorizes Jim Carrey may actually be a serial killer who hides his crimes by masking them as suicides. And although I don't quite buy into the theory, there are some bizarre synchronicities. The following is one of the creepiest coincidences this user points out. Actor Charles Rocket was cast on Saturday Night Live for the 1980-81 season, beating out a young Jim Carrey for the role. Years later, in 1994, Rocket was cast as the conniving villain in Dumb and Dumber, one of 3 movies that released in that one year that propelled Carrey to absolute superstardom. Take a look at this moment from the film.
So what happened? So the guy tricks some sucker into picking up his tab and gets away with it scot-free?
No. In the movie, they catch up to him half-mile down the road and slit his throat.
It was a good one.
It's important to point out that this line is not in the script, and Jeff Daniels' reaction appears to be genuine shock. But what does this have to do with Charles Rocket? Years later, Charles Rocket walked out into a field on his property in Connecticut and took his own life in a gruesome way by slitting his own throat. No One and Nobody 7 alleges that this is one of several deaths that were ruled as self-inflicted that were actually the work of Carrey. Strange enough, during another scene in Dumb and Dumber, the characters are seen crying while watching a sentimental Pacific Bell commercial, wiping their tears with money. The young boy in the commercial is actor Jonathan Brandis, who also unfortunately committed suicide on November 12, 2003.
What?
11/12/2003. 23/23. Tragically, in 2015, Carrey's girlfriend passed away, and the death was ruled as a suicide.
That logic doesn't make sense though, because it doesn't follow your original logic. Now, again, if you go back to your notepad and piece of paper, right? 4151912. This would be 11122003. So you should do them individually, like you did the date of the Titanic crashing. But no, you say, oh, this is 11 plus 12 is 23, and then 20 plus 3 is 23. And I'm telling you, they do that just to make it fit the theory. It's I guarantee you there's a way you could turn this into the number 16 and be like, oh, see, 16 is significant.
23, 23. Tragically, in 2015, Carrie's girlfriend passed away and the death was ruled as a suicide. The coroner ruled that the young woman died of a lethal overdose of multiple narcotic prescription medications. Carrie's girlfriend was married but separated, and after her passing, a lawsuit by her estranged widower revealed that the medications were prescribed to Carrie under the false name Arthur King, which he then allegedly provided to her. Carrie denied any wrongdoing, and in 2016 the wrongful death lawsuit was thrown out. But the whole thing obviously plays into the theory, so No One and Nobody 7 goes much deeper and further into detail, although in my opinion, it never really leads to a concise theory, but more of a number of coincidences surrounding Carrie that quickly become harder and harder to follow.
Go ahead. Tell yourself it's just a number.
Well, yeah, that's because that it is. It's just a number. Unless you let it be more than that, it's just a number. But the theory itself about him being a serial killer, when you consider how crazy Hollywood is, it actually, has some weight to it. And the only thing is, like, I don't see how Jim Carrey could overpower Chris Benoit. Like, I don't see that. And two, like, it's a lot harder to manipulate crime scenes than people think. They look at stuff like Dexter and Law and Order and think, okay, these people can switch up crime scenes to make it look one way or another. It's a lot harder to manipulate a crime scene than one might think. So I don't think someone who's as big in someone who is big in the spotlight as Jim Carrey could probably hide in plain sight. But what they showed was just a bunch of coincidences. I don't think it's enough evidence to, say he was a killer. Interesting theory, though. I will give him that. Interesting theory.
At the young age of just 18 years old, a beautiful rising star, Tammy Lynn Leppert, began exhibiting some odd, even paranoid behaviors after attending a wrap party for a movie shoot. What happened next baffled all of her friends and family, and still leaves investigators baffled to this day. This is the story of Tammy Lynn Leppert's bizarre disappearance. Tammy Lynn began modeling in beauty pageants at the age of 4 and had won over 280 pageants throughout the 70s and early 80s.
So this is what they used to wear for beauty pageants? Interesting.
1983, when Tammy was 18, she began her acting career in the movie Spring Break. The producer of the movie were seemingly infatuated with Tammy's beauty, as it said the torso featured prominently in the cover art was none other than Tammy's. When the movie shoot wrapped, the cast and crew threw a weekend-long party to celebrate. Tammy Lynn decided to cut loose and attend the party. Whatever happened at this party, Tammy Lynn was never the same. Tammy returned to her mother's Rockledge, Florida home, panicked and seemingly paranoid that someone was watching her. Tammy's mother, Linda Curtis, was a talent agent, and at the time, an 11-year-old client, Wing Flanagan, was living at their house. Wing began to notice the sharp turn in Tammy's behavior, and was nervous as she was like a sister to him. Whenever the phone would ring, Tammy would race to it, demanding that whoever answered say she wasn't there and that they didn't know when she'd be back. It was after witnessing one of these occasions that her mother finally confronted her, asking her what was going on. Tammy broke down and told her mom she had seen something awful. Something that
I was about to say, the only thing that would make someone behave that way is if they saw something that, they probably should not have seen. But again, to me, the more troubling thing here so far is the fact that her mom is a talent agent for her and for this dude this boy who's younger. Like, why are you putting these little kids? I get it. It's for the money, right? Well, actually, it may be for for other purposes than the money, but it's like I get if you want to like portray families, you want to have a little kid in the family or whatnot. But dude, how many times is this gonna happen? Like, this is crazy.
Tammy broke down and told her mom she had seen something awful, something that she wasn't supposed to see. When Linda tried to get Tammy to elaborate, she clammed up and said she couldn't tell anyone anything about it. Linda and Wing could 100% tell that something was wrong. They just didn't have a good idea of what. Tammy was a kind, outgoing, compassionate, and confident young woman, and this massive, almost overnight shift into a paranoid, erratic, desperate hermit made no sense to them. They knew something must have happened, but they did have a feeling that at least some of her new fears were delusional. People were calling for Tammy, but that wasn't that unusual. This was the phone line Tammy could be reached at, and she was a busy professional model and now actress. At one point during this reclusive 2 full weeks she spent basically hiding from this unknown threat, she called Wing, the 11-year-old boy, to look out her window for her.
I said, well, the neighbor's got a new van. And she said, exactly. And, you know, I didn't know quite what she was getting at. And she said, the van has mirrored windows. That means that they can see us, but we can't see them.
The 2-week period of isolation seemed to be brought to an end when Tammy was cast as an extra in Scarface. Tammy was glowing, and her ability to light up a room even got her her first speaking role instead of just being an extra. While she was working on the movie, she stayed with family friend Walter Leibowitz. Just 4 days into the shoot, Walter received a call from the Scarface casting director, who informed him Walter would need to come pick Tammy up as she had suffered some kind of breakdown. The scene that was being shot that day had been one depicting violence which required a large amount of fake blood. Tammy had apparently seen this simulated violence and began screaming and hyperventilating. When Walter arrived at the trailer she was in, he says she was still in a state of absolute panic and fear, claiming that they were going to find her and kill her. She ended up quitting the movie and going back home to Florida, but she couldn't find peace there either. She felt so unsafe that she would only eat off of Linda or Wing's plate at dinner because she was sure someone had poisoned hers. On July 1st of 1983, she walked out the front door to leave, but immediately became hyper aware of just how many people were out in the neighborhood. And though they were just neighbors coming or going or enjoying the summer weather, to Tammy there were threats. She turned to go back inside, but the door was locked. So she picked up a baseball bat off the lawn and smashed the front window out. This time, it took Linda hours to calm her down. After this incident, Linda took her daughter to a mental health facility where she had a full mental and physical checkup. And after a 72-hour holding period, they informed Linda that there were no symptoms of a mental health crisis and no drugs or alcohol in Tammy's system. So there.
Wake up, man. Wake up. I know this is old now, so I don't know what happened there, but dude, it's not a mental issue. I mean, I guess you could say let's check for if you're having paranoid delusions, because some people, I watched a body cam video of a guy who thought that some secret agency was trying to communicate to him through the television waves, and his mom was trying to get him out of the house, and he was like, "No, you don't understand. Like, the waves are everywhere, and if I go out there, this is gonna happen, and you can't see them, but I can." He kept on saying, "Do you hear that? Do you hear that?" And you can hear on the body cam, nothing really is happening. No sound is being made, but for some reason this dude could hear sound, and so but in her case, you're a giddy, uppity person who, not uppity, but a giddy, high energy person, extroverted person who was a model that went into beauty pageants. And then all of a sudden you go to this party and you see something that turns you into a closet hermit like I'm talking a deep cave hermit. And when you finally do come out of your shell, the first sign of blood and violence, even though it's fake, you have a psychotic break. It obviously means she saw something at that party. And she even told you, I saw something at the party that just messed me up. And I can't imagine what it was she saw. But I think she's going about this the wrong way.
There wasn't anything they could do, but they did observe that Tammy believed that she was in danger. Afterwards, Linda feels that Tammy did her best to project that she was okay, but still displayed nervous behaviors. One day, Tammy Lynn told her mom she was going out with a friend before getting in a car with a male. This was the last time Linda would ever see her daughter. That day, July 6, 1983, was the last day anyone would see Tammy that we know of. The police did get in contact with the male friend that picked her up. According to him, the two went to the beach before getting in a verbal argument in which Tammy insisted he drop her off in a parking lot. She was seen being dropped off outside the old glass bank building that day in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which verified the friend's story. Tammy seemingly vanishing without a trace directly after. 40 years later, authorities and her family still haven't given up hope. Although there's been very few leads, there are some interesting theories. Of course, there's the theory stemming from Tammy Lynn's own beliefs, that she had seen something at that Hollywood party, something that put her life at risk, something tied to money laundering. But interestingly enough, there was an active serial killer in the area at that time, known as the Beauty Queen Killer. Christopher Wilder kidnapped and murdered at least 8 women in the early 80s, luring beautiful young models with the promise of modeling contracts or photo shoots before attacking them, making Tammy Lynn look like a prime target for the psychopath. However, according to the police, Wilder's crime spree didn't begin until 1984, months after Tammy's disappearance, though there are rumors he killed in his home country of Australia before coming to America, and had more victims in the USA. We'll never know, as he was killed in a shootout with police in 1984. Tammy's mother Linda passed away in 1995, firmly believing that Tammy fell victim to a group of elite Floridians involved with the laundering of money tied to the drug trafficking trade. Her dying wish was to find out what happened to her daughter.
Two things. One, I don't think it was money laundering, because I mean, if you saw, unless there's some type of sick way to launder money I don't know about, I don't think her seeing people laundering money would make her behave that way. I think she saw something else. I think she saw something, because she had a psychotic break after seeing the Scarface dude in a scene where she knew the blood was fake, she knew the guns were probably loaded with blanks, yet she still had a psychotic break. So I think she probably saw, like an argument, or, and again, this is like the 80s. So like in the 80s, a lot of things that we see now, like a lot of things that people see now, they don't really consider a big deal. It was really a huge deal back in the 80s. Like, I'm talking a lot of things were a big deal back in the 80s. So I'm thinking she probably saw some type of Hollywood elite activity going on and was like, if they find out that I saw this, you know, they're going to kill me to shut me up. And the second thing is, she went about it the wrong way. Whatever you saw, right? I don't think she saw a murder taking place, but I think she saw something that she probably felt was either illegal or heavily immoral. And she probably thought these people, you know, like whoever it probably involved some of the major actors too. You know, like the one guy that that was an agent for Will Smith and some other guy, and he did an interview where he was like, the crew was trying to get him to find Will, and he was like, man, I was looking everywhere for him, I couldn't find him, but I'm also the agent for the other guy, and so he went looking for them, and he he opened the door to this one room and found, you know, some sus activity going on between the guy and Will Smith. And so I think she probably did the same. She probably found some sus activity going on. She probably didn't walk in on it, but she saw it, happened to see it between some major actors. And she probably thought these actors probably don't want to come out with this stuff right now. So if they know that I know, they might actually kill me. And what I mean by she went about it the wrong way, if it was not a crime, you should have just pretended like you never saw anything. Because her behavior would have brought her attention to them. It would have gotten their attention from the jump. But the fact that she completely disappeared reminds me of the missing 411. I don't know if you know about that, but that's people who have gone missing out in deep forest areas. It is so weird. Like, the one that I can recall off the top of my head was the grandfather that he was there with his family, and his grandson wanted to go to the pond, wanted to go to the lake. And so he was like, yeah, I'll take you down to the lake while the people, his crew, was resting at the campsite. So he took his grandson to the lake, and he turned his back for like a minute, and his grandson was completely gone. And they searched for miles in like a huge radius, and could not find that boy anywhere. They didn't even find traces of his clothes or anything like that. But then, like a couple of days later, they found the boy like walking on the highway, like hundreds of miles away from where they were. And so it's like, there's no way he could have walked that far. So how did he get there? And some people still have not been found from the missing 411. So it's like, that's another topic entirely that's making me wonder, like, what's going on in the forest. You know what I'm saying?
Miscavige. David Miscavige is the big cheese of Scientology, and you're friends with his wife, and you see that his wife isn't there.
Right.
And you asked, her name is Shelley, where's Shelley?
Right.
There's this big wedding, where's Shelley, and what happened?
Well, I asked innocently, where's Shelley? Because I thought it was odd. It was being, they were calling it the wedding of the century, the church. And I said, well, where's Shelley Miscavige? And with that was a reaction of, people just scattering. Well, and I asked the spokesperson at the time, Tom Davis, where is Shelley? I think it's weird that she's not here. And he said, you don't have the effing rank to be asking about the leader's wife. Mm-hmm. And I felt that I did have the effing rank to ask where a human being was.
In November of 2006, as actress Leah Remini arrived at the 15th century Italian castle ceremony to see fellow Scientologist Tom Cruise marry Katie Holmes, she had just one question upon seeing the infamous and secretive leader of their movement, David.
That's another thing I stay away from. Is that Scientology? No. I don't mess with that.
Miscavige. Where is Shelley? When the creator of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, died in 1986, his chosen heir, David Miscavige, took the throne. And along with him, his wife, Shelley Miscavige, who had been a member of Scientology since she was 12 years old, the two meeting while serving in the religion's strangely paramilitary-esque Sea Org division. If you're unfamiliar with Scientology, it's a religion created in 1953 by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. Though I'm sure the religion has helped many people, there have also been several high-profile allegations of abuse, poor working conditions, financial control, and worse. The parishioners of the church.
Scientology leader David Miscavige physically abuses his staff. What? Religion is free. Scientology will cost everything. What? Scientology classifies homosexuality as an illness. What does that say? Islam is free. Christianity free. Buddhism free. Jew. What did I say? I can barely read the rest of those, but they all say free. Scientology is £345. Now, I will say one thing though. A lot of people out there would be like, "Oh, religion's not free. Look at all these, pastors requiring these members' dues and all that stuff." All I can say to that is read the Bible, and you'll understand that the gospel is truly free. But Scientology, I don't mess with Scientology because they remind me a lot of like the early day alchemists. And what I mean by that is, yeah, they have this mindset of I want to help humanity, but their means of going about doing it is insane. Like, I'm talking levels of like, let's see if we can't evolve humanity. So let's try and mix the human and Bengal tiger genome and create a human Bengal tiger hybrid that is faster, stronger, and or let's create some clones of humans that obey our every word. You know what I'm saying? Like, they believe science is the way forward. And science has its uses, but this is wild.
Must pay increasingly exuberant fees for the treatment sessions in effort to go clear, a process which is supposed to help remove trauma. Some members working their entire lives doing menial labor jobs and living on the church campuses. Scientology has become infamous over the years for allegedly utilizing extremely hostile and invasive tactics to discredit and defame any former members or investigators in fear of the public finding out what goes on within the church. The group owns over $400 million in real estate in Hollywood alone, and pretty much bought a city in Florida. They even have several secretive, heavily guarded bases hidden throughout Wyoming, California, and New Mexico. When David took power, his wife was given a role fit for who was ostensibly now the First Lady of Scientology, creating the position of Chairman of the Board Assistant, which put her in charge of all the highest-ranking staffers. Except, she had little true power over her own life or any decisions made, as David was extremely controlling and quick to temper, making her role little more than his personal assistant. It seems Shelley slowly lost favor with David as he shot down all of her projects and rumors of him having an affair with his communications expert, Laurice Stuckenbrock. These rumors only multiplied by the fact that the two no longer shared a bedroom.
Did he say her name was Stuckenbrock?
And hadn't showed any personal affection in front of anyone in years. According to defectors from the mysterious organization, Shelley maintained a desperate attempt to impress and assist David in his work, but did begin to feel and express that he was going off the rails. The
Scientologists it reminds me a lot of the Freemasons, bro.
Same former members that were so close to Shelley claimed that in early 2006, she was showing signs of massive stress and anxiety, appearing unstable and fearful. During this time, Shelley made two decisions while David was away on a trip. In order to facilitate renovations to David's personal living space, Shelley had some of his belongings boxed up and put in storage. She then rearranged some of the staff positions at Gold Base where she was living, informing them of their new titles and duties. Both actions David must have considered completely over the line. One of the former members is quoted as saying she puttered around for maybe a week or two. She was being very sheepish and withdrawn. It was like she knew she was in big trouble. In August of 2007, Shelley's father passed away, and she attended the funeral after being isolated for some time. According to former high-ranking Scientologist Mike Rinder, Shelley was taken to one of several Scientology facilities in the San Bernardino Mountains, a place he refers to as a very secret location, the heavily guarded headquarters of the Church of Spiritual Technology, where the church takes great care in preserving the writings of their founder for eternity. These writings are etched into stainless steel tablets, which are held in titanium containers filled with argon gas. Those containers are lined with heat shielding developed for the space shuttle program. The containers are then stored in deep underground vaults. Maintaining and protecting these facilities is considered an honor amongst the Scientologists, but defectors have also claimed that these locations are also used as de facto prisons. It's been roughly 15 years since Shelley has been seen in public. 2006, when Leah began inquiring within the church about Shelley Miscavige and behaviors from senior members like Tom Cruise not being in line with the church's teachings, she was immediately sent to a church facility in the Scientology capital city, Clearwater, Florida, where she would spend a grueling 90 days in what can only be described as interrogation sessions.
How long were you in Florida for?
3 months.
3 months of dealing with this? 3 months? Every day for 3 months?
I had to write apology letters.
90 days? So you're there for 90 days?
3 months, bro. Yeah. What? Oh my gosh! In case you haven't noticed from Danganronpa, like I would have stopped after the second time. How long were you there? 3 months. 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. And I just gave him that look like, what, did you think I meant more? 90 days. I'm out. Peace. I'm going. What?
All you're talking about is Tom Cruise's
It was during my hiatus on King of
Holy
Queens.
shit.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing most of the time. I get these reports. I'm sent to Florida immediately, the Mecca, the hub of Scientology.
Clearwater.
That's right. For interrogations. No, and I mean like interrogations.
So you have to fly out there.
I fly out there. I'm in the room. I'm in a room, with cameras, with my person who is armed with information unbeknownst to me.
You know what else is interesting about Joe Rogan? Is I saw a video where he said to the powers that be, if you show me what's really out there, I'll pretend it's all fake too. I just want to know. And all of a sudden, apparently, after that, his whole thing changed. Like, now he's out here talking about aliens and all this other stuff. And so people are assuming that they contacted him and showed him, the what the world is what's being hidden from the world, and now he's hiding it too by pretending to be interested.
Of a stack of reports that were written on me.
After Leah went public with her questions about Shelley's whereabouts, Scientology began going above and beyond to discredit and smear their former member. The church goes to great lengths to discredit those who speak negatively about it, including making a YouTube channel dedicated to painting Leah in as negative a light as possible, that produced several high production value testimonials from various figures in Leah's.
Leah Remini, the facts. Leah Remini, the facts. Family abuse and betrayal. That's interesting because she was an abusive wife. Well, not abusive, but she did beat Doug up a lot in King of Queens.
Life, including her father, stepmother, loose acquaintances, all the way down to a manager of a Scientologist hotel and a home inspector whom Leah met once.
Not a pleasant one, and I said, "This is my profession. This is what I do. That is a hairline crack. That is not a concern." The volume went up. She got more upset. And I realized at that moment that in the 10,000 inspections I've dealt with, I've probably dealt with maybe 3 people that I would consider to be truly, I don't know another word other than insane.
Yeah, but you don't think a hairline crack? I mean, hey, you're a home inspector, so honestly speaking, since you're a home inspector, me personally, I look at you as somebody who is easily bribed. But I assume you know more about home foundations and stuff than me. But you don't think a hairline fracture in the wall, a hairline crack in the wall is an issue? I mean...
In other words, they have some sort of hidden agenda, some reason that they want to communicate something.
And he was going to do a whole thing about where's Shelley and going to put the church in just an unbelievably terrible position because he figured it all out because he's been in public relations his entire life, and he figured it all out. There was going to be this untenable position where nobody could respond to it because it's so personal and it's so the accusation is so one of those things that it's like a do you beat your wife conundrum. right? The way they're framing the accusation, that that they could just go to town and make it into a. She goes, I know that. I knew she wasn't missing. Credibility and integrity. You know she's not missing. You know that Leah Remedy truly doesn't have the rank to ask to know exactly where she is, when, and how she does her business. That just as much as she feels like, that she needs the credibility and integrity. You know she's not missing. You know that Leah Remedy truly doesn't have the rank to ask to know exactly where she is, when, and how she does her business. That just as much as she feels like, that she needs the. Mike goes, yeah, I know all that, but it's like his perfect thing because it puts him in a position. If it's the wife of the head of Scientology, it puts him in his untenable position.
Why go to these great lengths to discredit one person, instead of just urging Shelley Miscavige to make a public statement? It is my personal belief that Shelley is unable to make a statement for one of two reasons. Shelley is long dead, or Shelley is being held against her will at one of the church's many properties.
I just have one question. Why can't it be that she just simply don't want to be in public anymore? I remember when Joe Biden hadn't been on TV in like 2 months or something like that. And they had members of Congress telling people, look, telling the White House, if Joe Biden doesn't make a public appearance, we're gonna send some people to investigate. And I get it, Joe Biden was the president of the United States at that time. And they wanted to make sure that, I don't know if they assumed he was in some type of trouble or something. I don't know. But this is the first lady of a private organization. And why do you need to see her in public? Like, I get it. It is odd that, for one, I think it's crazy that you need a rank. You need to be a certain rank to ask about someone's well-being. I think that in itself should let you know this is not something you want to be in. But just because she hasn't made a public appearance since, you're just gonna assume she's dead or she's being held against her will. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I had money, like if I had hundreds of millions of dollars, the only time I'd ever be seen is at family gatherings and at church. Like, I would never go anywhere to shop. I would literally have a shoot, like maybe a mile-long shoot, where people would put my deliveries in the chute and it would go down this long railing to get to where I am. And I would never come out except to go to church and to visit my family. So it's like, she got money. I don't know. And another thing too is, you don't know if just because she hasn't been in the public where you can see her, doesn't mean she ain't been out in public. She could have been out somewhere with the other Scientologists, doing whatever it is they do, whatever it is mad scientists do. Oh, there's an update.
In 2013, after finally leaving Scientology, actress Leah Remini filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. However, the report was quickly closed and marked as unfounded. According to the LAPD, they made contact with Shelley but refused to give any details as to her state of mind, health, or if they met with her in an environment where she would be away from her potential kidnappers, in order to express the need for help. The case so quickly shut down, so either Shelley really is fine, or could corruption be playing a role? In early November,
grab me some soft peppermints here. It's interesting how that's the only picture they have of her. Like, they don't have any other pictures of her either. Like, I don't know, man. Many of you know about Shelley Miscavige, the wife of Scientologist leader David Miscavige, who's been missing for 15 years. Well, I've got a blank of an update for you. Oh, yeah? Oh, this is Leah Remini?
2022, Leah Remini.
Why do I keep calling her Remy? Her name is Remini. Remini?
He took to Twitter to provide a potentially disturbing update regarding...
What'd I say? Meet Corey Polka, a 34-year veteran of the LAPD and a longtime captain of the Hollywood division. Corey was in charge of the division where I filed my missing persons report into the disappearance of Shelley Miscavige. Here, Corey accepts a check from Scientology for an LAPD charity of $20,000?
her search for Shelley Miscavige, detailing how the captain who was in charge of the Hollywood division at the time Leah filed the missing persons report.
Then what happened? Here's where things get interesting. Corey is now being investigated for providing confidential investigative information to top CBS executives, which begs the question, what investigative information has he provided to Scientology over the years?
At the time Leah filed the missing person...
I'm trying to figure out, is that against the law? Like, if he's investigating, let's say he's investigating a street gang, and he goes over there, hey, I'm investigating the street gang. If y'all see anything, let me know. Is that against the law? Like, unless he's been tipping them off prior to like raids or something, I don't know.
Report has ties to Scientology. Here's him accepting a $20,000 check from Scientology to an LAPD charity. And not only that, but Corey is now being investigated for providing confidential information to top CBS executives, which means he was allegedly selling confidential information to a television network. If he was willing to do that, it's not much of a logic leap to understand how easy it would have been to influence the LAPD's response to Leah's missing persons report. Leah also posted this picture of LAPD Lieutenant Andre Dawson, the detective in charge of her missing persons report into Shelley Miscavige, who also has connections to Scientology. Here he is speaking at Scientology's Celebrity Center at an event about human trafficking.
Well, I would say this. That is odd that they look into the information. They say, oh, yeah, we talked to her. And if I'm not mistaken, they don't really have to tell you anything. Right? Like, they don't have to tell you anything about the investigation, even if you're the one who asked them to do it. I don't think they have to tell you. I think that the most you can do as a private citizen is file a FOIA. But I feel like with this one, yeah, she could be dead or held against her will, but I think it's also just as likely that she didn't want anything more to do with Scientology, but she's still his wife. So while he's conducting all the normal processes and events within Scientology, she's just doing her own thing, chilling.
Some theorists suggest that often when a dark theory surfaces around a celebrity and begins to get traction, the media will cover a scandal about that person in order to mask the deeper, more disturbing truth. Those same theorists claim this is one of those occasions, alleging that Armie Hammer's leaked DMs, you know, the ones about cannibalism, were more than just fantasy. At the height of the pandemic in August of 2020, actor Armie Hammer, known for his roles in The Lone Ranger and Call Me By Your Name, did an interview with Jimmy Kimmel. where Army commented that he had been living in and restoring an old abandoned motel with his old pal Ashton Ramsey near Joshua Tree in California.
Yeah. Now explain what's going on.
So my buddy Ashton bought a motel in 29 Palms, which is just outside of Joshua Tree, and it was like this kind of like abandoned, rundown motel. And I came back from the Cayman Islands where I was during quarantine, and I was like, dude, I got nothing to do. And he's like, well, do you want to come live with me in this abandoned motel and do construction with me? And I was like,
you say no, right? Yeah, of course not. That's terrible. I'm a movie star. It's the last thing I want to do.
I'm sorry, did you think I had anything else better going on?
Yeah. Army and his wife, Elizabeth Chambers, had quietly separated and began the divorce process a few months prior. And as far as I can tell, he traveled from the Cayman Islands, where he was living with his family pretty much directly to the Joshua Tree area and into this abandoned hotel. Oddly enough, at least 3 people vanished from the Palms 29 area while Army was staying at the abandoned hotel. But why would anyone think he had anything to do with that? Well, months later in January 2021, an Instagram user named House of Effie leaked some extremely disturbing DMs between herself and Hammer from while he was still married. The DMs detailed the disturbing depths of Army's depraved fantasies. Army swiftly glossed over your average BDSM kinks. He showed an extreme amount of interest in consuming human blood, human flesh, homicide, and just overall physically harming whoever would be unlucky enough to be intimate with him. Hammer indicated that he knew a surgeon and wanted a woman to have 2 ribs removed in a surgical procedure so that he could barbecue and eat them. He even said he wanted to hold her beating heart in his hand and that he had eaten the heart of an animal he hunted. It wasn't just House of Effie. Several other women came forward with varying degrees of dark, depraved messages from the actor. Now, knowing where the man's interests lie, let's take a look at the disturbing amount of human remains found in and around the Joshua Tree area. In the time that Army confirmed himself that he was in the area, 3 people vanished, and their remains would later be found nearby. On June 16, 2020, Erica Lloyd's family lost touch with her 2 days after she had left for Joshua Tree on vacation. Later that day, her car was found here, near the intersection of Highway 62 and Sheldon Road, near 29 Palms, exactly 10 miles or a 10-minute drive away from the Ramsey 29 motel. Later that day, her family desperately kept calling her cell phone, the only thing giving them some semblance of hope, as it was still on and ringing days later. 4 days after her disappearance, someone picked up a mysterious male voice who said he found the phone on June 18th on Cottonwood Drive. This is Cottonwood Drive, less than a half-mile from the motel where Army Hammer was living. 9 days later, on June 25th, sometime after nightfall, a local resident, 56-year-old James Escalante, left his home on Shelton Road and started riding his bicycle towards Highway 62. His girlfriend Sherry had received a call from her friend, whose car had become stuck in the sand just off Highway 62, about a mile from their house. When the car wasn't in the location James expected it to be in, he called Sherry and told her as much. She added her friend onto the call and told her to honk. James immediately heard the horn nearby and said, "Got it," before vanishing without a trace.
What?
On July 22nd, 2020, human remains were found nearly in the same area, but remained unidentified. Cynthia Bachman, the county sheriff's spokeswoman, only confirmed that a body had been found. Erica Lloyd's family had hired an old mining and caving expert to search the Joshua Tree area for their daughter, and sometime in early August he found a red bicycle, the very bicycle Escalante was riding when he vanished. This discovery led to an enhanced search of the area, and 2 more sets of human remains were located. One roughly a quarter-mile south of Amboy Road and Wilson Road. The other was not too distant from Shelton Road and Highway 62. It is believed that these remains belong to James Escalante. On January 21st, 2022, Erica Lloyd's remains were found as well, so the remains found at Amboy and Wilson do belong to a 3rd victim. And as of now, there are at least 6, but probably closer to 8 mysterious death cases right in this tight little cluster. The connection between Army and the mysterious number of deaths surrounding his time in 29 Palms is only made more frightening when you find out that allegedly, the violence didn't stay a fantasy according to House of Effie. Effie, the original leaker of the cannibalistic DMs, eventually made an impact statement during a press conference, in which she details a horrific 4-hour attack in which Hammer allegedly violently assaulted her repeatedly, bashed her head against the wall, and even beat the bottoms of her feet, causing extreme pain with every step she took in the following days, leaving her battered, bruised, and traumatized for life, all completely without her consent. She begged him to stop and even tried leaving, but he wouldn't let her. Hammered.
So you got the phone and dialed 911, right? You went to the police?
Denied the claims, releasing a statement through his lawyer. As of September 1st, 2021, the investigation is still ongoing. Effie also made an interesting comment saying, "What he and his friends have done is worse than anything I ever posted. Justice will be served." The string of mysterious disappearances and human remains being found began in late 2019. We know that Army was there in the direct vicinity for nearly 3 months in 2020. Is it possible there are one or more serial killers prowling the generally unprotected deserts of Joshua Tree?
I think that's it for this one. There probably could be more than one serial killer there. This was right before the country sheltered in, so if you look out there, there's plenty of space to hide a body. I feel like though that's way too circumstantial. Like, I don't think that's enough to charge. And that's probably why he hasn't been charged yet. After all, it is nothing more than a conspiracy theory. But it is odd that he's like, yeah, I'm 100%, I'm 100% a cannibal. And, I want to hire a surgeon to cut out some people's insides so I can fry them and eat them. I'm like, bro, cut your own guts out and eat them then. All right, since you that sick in the mind. All right, let me see if I have enough time to jump through. I gotta stop yapping so much, bro. This was only a 30-minute video. All right, let me see if I have enough time. I'll queue up another one.